So the first thing to show you with the opal setup in the pot is that the core of the wax remains solid for the duration of the day. You probably want to allow 60 to 90 minutes for the wax to prepare in the morning, so you may have to have a timer on your wax pot before you come into work. But if you can see within the pot, there's almost like a film looking top to the wax. And then what I'm going to do using a spatula is just turn over that core to reveal the nice juicy stuff that I can work with while I'm doing my waxes. Now, as far as temperature and consistency, opal does have a tendency to run a little bit hotter as a peelable wax. So this is one thing you need to be quite cautious of. The temperature generally is between 54 and 56 degrees, but every single wax pot is slightly different whether you have a digital or not. Our organic, Outback organic wax pots generally sit between 4 and 5 quite nicely, but things like air conditioning and weather do have an effect on your wax. So I'm going to show you consistency of how the wax should run off the spatula as to what you're looking for ideally with a consistency aspect of your opal. So if you put the tip of the spatula in, it should run very, very slowly, making a very easy to see pattern in the wax as it lands. If it runs off of the spatula any faster, you've probably got your wax a little bit too hot. And if it's staying on the spatula and not running off at all, you've probably not quite got your pot hot enough. Now it does look as if it won't go on very thinly, but that will apply perfectly thin so that the wax leaves a transparency to be able to see the skin and the hair through the wax. That's the consistency for your opal peelable. The new generation Jade peelable is the next one I'm going to show you and walk you through the consistency. Again, they sit at a similar temperature to the opal and the gold. The variation is between 52 and 56, although again every wax pot has a slightly different thermostat and a slightly different tendency to sit at that exact temperature, whether it's digital or dial. The Jade will run off the spatula faster than the opal and the gold, so as you can see here, just very slightly faster than the opal, but still leaving a nice pattern as it lands inside the wax. I'll just do that again for you. So any faster than what you can see here, it's likely that you've got your pot slightly too high. And sometimes it does take just playing with the temperature a degree or so either side just to see where it sits consistency wise. Almost like a good thick honey running off of a spoon. So Onyx is the other of our new generation peelable waxes. Temperature and consistency the same as Jade. The aroma for the Onyx is sandalwood. Temperature sits between 52 and 56. A couple of factors that do affect your wax in the pot, obviously how full you have your pot with the wax, but also if you have air conditioning or what the weather is at the time of year will also determine how it sits in the pot. Each pot is slightly different whether it's digital or a dial, so I like to do a consistency where it's more visual. A little bit difficult to see with Onyx because it's black, but it should still, as with Jade, run off your spatula like a thick honey. Any faster, it may be an indication that your wax is too hot. And if you have a look as the wax lands in the pot, you'll see that it will leave a definite pattern as it lands in the bowl of wax. The next wax I'm going to show you the consistency and overview on the temperature is the Gold Strip Wax. The general temperature, although the wax pots do vary slightly whether it's digital or dial, but the late 50s is where the strip wax sits best. Consistency of the Gold Strip Wax on the spatula, if you have a look, it will run off considerably faster than the peelables, but it will still leave a definite pattern as it lands in the wax itself. So it sits perfectly around the late 50s, 57 to 59, but do play with your pot a degree or so either side just until you get that consistency as you've just seen there. The True Blue Strip Wax is a wonderful combination of a cream and a honey wax. So it will run off the spatula like thick honey. If you just have a look in the pot there, it should run off the spatula just with ease, but still make a pattern as it lands into the wax. Strip wax sits perfectly in the high 50s within the pot. I generally keep the Outback pot between a 5 and a 6 on the dial. If you've got a digital, I find they sit perfectly at 57, 58, but they do vary. Weather does affect the wax consistency as well. So if you look for the way it runs off of the spatula, if it's any faster than what you can see here, you may have your wax pot a little bit too high. If it's not running off your spatula with ease, you may have your wax pot temperature slightly too low. This is perfect running consistency.